Narrated Abdullah bin Masud, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Do not wish to be like anyone except in two cases. The first is a person whom Allah has given wealth, and he spends it righteously according to what Allah has ordained, in a just and right way. The second is the one whom Allah has given al-hikmah, wisdom, i.e. the knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah, legal ways of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he acts according to it and teaches it to others." Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, this narration of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that was captured by Abdullah bin Masud is really helpful for us because envy can destroy lives. And we have so many people now in this era flexing on others. And I have covered a story on my main channel where a famous painting was sold for $55 million because this lady was popular. She's dead, and yet people are selling her art. Frida, whatever her name is. It's abhorrent, but there are a lot of people who wish that their art would sell for that kind of a price. You also have famous singers, rappers, even politicians who they spend their money in terrible ways. Just look at why people boycotted Starbucks. They're funding the genocide in Palestine. So the people who own Walmart, these mega corporations, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, I covered his wedding, how much he spent. It's abhorrent. Truly it is. The wealthy class, they have their own Hunger Games, and it's a very nasty way of living when you look at it. They got all the fine clothes, the resources that almost seem unlimited to them, and yet they will be held accountable, even though they think they're doing good, they are not. Because the first is a person whom Allah has given wealth, and he spends it righteously, according to what Allah has ordained in a just and right way. So, look, for example, Andrew Tate has gambling. Alright? Gambling is haram. He's earning money through gambling, and then he also gambles. Tim Pool, who is constantly raging against Islam, he doesn't really advertise any charity that he does. I don't even know if he does any charity, but he rages against people who are on Snap and EBT, says the program should be gutted. I did a video on that. And yet he uses his excess money to build a skate park, his own personal skate park, and gamble. I always find it so odd how people will think that's a good use of their wealth, of just gambling it all away. We have to remember as believers, you got a good opportunity once you get some capital, some profit, some surplus of wealth, to do so many good deeds. And I know it can be hard to let go of money once you finally got it. You've been striving, but you have to watch yourself. It reminds me of the platform on Netflix. It was like a dystopian type of sci-fi thriller. It's kind of Black Mirror-ish, but it's called The Platform. There's video 1 and 2. And it's a vertical prison that has a platform that has food on it, and starting from level 1 all the way down to past 300 and something, the food gets more scarce. People gorge themselves and don't think about those on the lower levels, and you change your level every 30 days. So if the people on the lower level don't eat for 30 days, they resort to cannibalism. It's a very interesting... It's a great thought experiment. It's interesting when you do a lot of introspection upon that film and what it's trying to tell you. There are people who won't ration their portion so that another may eat, but they will gorge and not think of anyone else who eats. And hoarders of wealth, when they have so much money like Elon Musk, you have to think to yourself, at what point do you just become evil? because you have that amount of money. Interestingly, there is this old bank in my community that has been reshaped into another type of business. But it still has that stench of money. They've renovated and everything, but it still has that smell to it. And I don't know if you've ever been in an old bank, but it has that smell of money. Whatever the ink is or whatever it is that they made the paper from, it has a certain smell to it. And it's like the stench of the money doesn't leave the building unless you totally like strip it down bare. And I wonder if money, when you have a certain point of it, it like has this effect on your brain where you just start thinking to yourself, I must be better just because I have this wealth. And so it might be even better for people spiritually to really just do individual projects. Because, as Bro Haji pointed out, a lot of people donate to charities, but the charities are super corrupt and don't spend it where they should. So if you can, make sure that you can do good in your own community with your own family. Your local public school, do something nice for the kids. Get all the whole school donuts, or a little goodie bag with pencils and erasers. Find out which kids need a pair of shoes. Volunteer your time. There's wonderful things you can do with the budget you have of time and money. But imagine if you had a lot of wealth and then you're just spending it on champagne bottles in the club or on escorts, on gambling. That's not spending the wealth Allah gave you righteously. See, when you look at it, it's almost like, well, I guess you could actually literally say this, because Sharia law stems from part of Hadiths. And so since we have this Hadith, we could say, logically and consistently, that spending your wealth righteously is in accordance with Sharia law. And that Islam demands that we spend our wealth righteously. So when you have these bigoted Republican Christians of MAGA and MEGA raging against Muslims, do they not realize that we are called to spend our money righteously in a just and right way? We're not trying to create liquor stores. We're not trying to use it to help cartels or to create degenerate content. And hadiths like this that are narrated by Abdullah bin Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, of what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, can remind us. And it also talks about al-hikmah, wisdom, i.e. the knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah, legal ways, of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and that we're to act on it and to teach it to others. Now, it doesn't just say men should teach it to others, but women should teach it as well. And this is key for us, because a lot of people, they don't want to share what they've learned. They don't get excited about it. And I argue that we as women should get very excited about learning our religion. See me, I get really excited when I learn about Islam, and I always want to share it. And that helps people to see that us Muslim women are not oppressed. A lot of people conflate culture with Islam, and that's why us studying the religion can help to dispel rumors and strange things. I mean, the amount of lives I've seen pushed on Islam on X are quite numerous. And I know there will be some brothers who think that women have no value in terms of spreading the deen. Because I do understand some women, their motives are not clear. They're just kind of thirst trapping in their own way, especially if they don't wear hijab. So I get that part, but there are sincere people who just love Islam and want to spread it. And so those people can really help shift the narrative of I don't even want to repeat it because it's so ugly what some of the things have been said. But sometimes a woman does need to say it. Because if it's only ever coming from a man, then it just kind of reinstills a stereotype. When a woman's like, yes, I like being a Muslim, it's harder for the feminist and the conservative MAGA retard to be like, oh, yeah, you see what I'm saying? I hope I'm making myself clear. I'm trying to be as polite as possible without getting too frustrated. But for me, when I'm like, hey, I just read this hadith made me think about this, I get very passionate. And the way us Muslim women go around talking about our religion is quite different from the Christians, because the Christians will be showing cleavage, saying, Christ is king! And they're being lewd. Full face of makeup. And they're like, it's almost like a fetish style of content, and there's no real actual Christian knowledge there. The Christian female influencers don't talk about their religion necessarily from a theological aspect. It's mostly just the cliche platitudes of a couple Bible verses, and then they're like selling merch and they're thirst trapping. It's not the same as us, where us Muslim women are fully covered. And we're often talking about hadiths or verses of the Quran or biography of one of the companions. You know, sure, I know that there is women who maybe fail, but on average, Muslim women are far superior in the way in which they spread Islam than how the Christian women spread Christianity. And a lot of the Christian women are just open hypocrites. They don't really practice what they preach. And it's more of a brand than a lifestyle. Whereas with us Muslim women, I'd argue, we're living it and then trying to inspire others to live it as well. Now, I can't tell you how to spend your money, but it would be great if some people could organize some food drives at the masjids and the mosques and the Islamic centers for the needy. I know a lot of you already do. I'm just saying a helpful reminder. Things for mom, things for students. I think there should be Islamic scholarships. If we did that together, we could be an unstoppable force, inshallah. So remember, of the two cases that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said you should admire the person. So someone who has wealth spends it righteously, someone who learns the religion and then spreads it. Have hope. Don't be worried about no Bugatti. Don't be looking at no mansion or a yacht or some big booty hoe. Astaghfirullah. Your pious wife, your pious husband, your good children, they are remarkable. Don't forget, don't deny any of the favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Remember that.